Hi traders, Sean Lucas here. So good to be with you. Apologize for the delay. It has been one of those days. It's actually been one of those 24 hours. We've had some major technology troubles this over the night, and I've been up for the better part of the evening working with our development team, trying to get to the bottom of all of the technology challenges we've been having. And so as a result, I haven't been able to trade, and so I just sat down for the first moment here and started. We finally got all of our technology back up and working, and now I'm trying to get into the market and make a little bit of money. I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we're doing right now, or what I'm doing right now, and I would love to have you join me in this cause. But over the weekend, I was just kind of looking through the internet, seeing all of the damage that had been caused by Hurricane Michael that hit the panhandle of Florida. And it's one of those instances where it just really touches you. And I started thinking, man, what could I do? What could I do? And I thought, well, you know what? There's something I can do, and there's something I can do really well. And that's trade. And so what I decided to do is I decided to take my Trader on the Street account. It's a $50,000 account. And I decided to trade that account for the hurricane relief efforts in Florida. So whatever profits I make in that account this week will be donated to the hurricane relief efforts over there in the panhandle of Florida. So what I'd like to do today is just, trade with you and see what we can make in this little trading session. We're up pretty good. In fact, we're up pretty good on the week. We've turned that $50,000 account into $54,853. So I've traded and made about $4,853 in the last 2 days. So that's pretty decent return, and that's even with all the technology problems that we've had in the last 24 hours. I haven't been able to trade at all. So, at any rate, that's an okay job, right? But what I'd like to do also is I'd like to invite you to join me. And so if you go to this website chat box, but this kind of tells what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I'd love to invite anyone out there who's interested in making a small donation. The object here is that, I'll trade as hard as I can and as well as I can for the week. And I'd love to see if the community out there could match my donations, so match my trading income through, little ones, $10 here, $20 there, whatever it takes to kind of match my donations. So if you go to traderonthestreet.com/give back, did someone post that can someone post that in the chat? There we go. And then you can kind of read and follow along where we're at. So we're just, right now, collectively, we're at about 6,000. You can see you can see my trading results right here. That was Mondays and that was Tuesdays. And then if you we set up a GoFundMe account. So if you go to the GoFundMe account, you can make a donation there. So love to see what we can do, what our community can do to help raise a little bit of money to help someone in need in Florida. I think it would be a fantastic opportunity for us to look beyond ourselves and see what we can do to help someone in need. So with that, let's get trading. Let's just jump in and see what the markets are doing. It has been flat for about the last half hour. So not a whole lot of money to be made in here. And then we had the release of the Fed notes right about in here. The Federal Reserve, as you know, met a couple weeks ago, and they released all of the notes, all of the minutes from their meeting. And so that everybody was kind of waiting to see what the Federal Reserve, what was being said behind the scenes at the Federal Reserve, to see whether they wanted to continue this little downtrend that we've had on the euro, or whether we want to reverse and move higher. So right now we're kind of just filtering through all the noise right now, and hopefully the market will give us a little bit of a setup. I want to take a longer term look at the market before I get into any trades here. So let's take a look at a daily time frame real quick and do a quick analysis of the daily time frame and see if, I know it's been a little volatile. You know, you've got the Federal Reserve on one hand raising rates, and you got Donald Trump on the other hand saying the Federal Reserve is the biggest enemy to my administration. So because they're raising rates, we shouldn't be raising rates. And so you've got this real tug of war between two powerful factions in the government right now. And so I think what you're seeing is a lot of up and down movement from that tug of war. So you can see this was a little choppy, and then we had a little bit of a rebound, and then it's been choppy since that. So a little bit of a break and then choppy. So not a lot of bias to any kind of direction in our trading today, at least. So now I'll drop back down. We do have a bias in our on our 5-minute charts. You know, we've got a good down leg and then another good down leg here. So I think overall, I'll start setting up some short positions and try and scalp a little bit here and there. So what you're going to watch me do today is you're going to watch me build a big position, and so whether that market, I'm going to be building into, right now I think I'm going to be building into a short position. So I'll start adding little bits here, little bits there, kind of a technique that I labeled the wobble technique, and try and build a little bit of a position as this market tries to decide which direction it wants to go. So we'll start building here, start throwing a couple of shorts on. Now I'm going in real small in the beginning, and this is part of the wobble technique, is you start out real small. You're not real sure what the market's is going to do, and so you start out small, and that way you can fix things if it's not the right time. That's the whole premise of the wobble technique, is it gives you an opportunity to fix and adjust where your entry positions are. It's a technique that helps you adjust your entry, your effective cost, and also your whether you're right or wrong. You can use this technique to kind of fix and manage positions. So we're just going to start building a little bit of looks like we're going to hit all of those little profit targets. So that's good. All but a couple here. So there's trade number one. I'm going to scoot these out just a little bit, scoot out our profit targets just a little bit here. Now it's forming a tail. I don't know if you can see this real well on your side, but it's starting to form a little bit of a tail there, and you've got a tail here. And so what that's saying is that there's some money in the market trying to move. It's trying to move things up, right? Now, as traders, we don't really know how strong that influence is. They're actually dropped a little bit right there. Now we can book that profit. We'll just book that profit. So you look at these tails down at support levels, and what that's kind of telling you is that there's some money out there that's trying to push things up. And they do. The tail is evidence of that, of their presence, right? They're there because it formed a tail. It started moving down. This money out there started pushing it higher. So that's kind of an interesting. It kind of puts us in an interesting spot, because if there's enough money out there underneath this market, then we could get a reversal here and move higher, and we already know we're at a support level, so this is a good place to get into a long position. So tail money, if you will. I want to follow that tail, that wick money, and see if there's enough of it out there to push this market higher. Clean up these charts so you guys can see everything. Now, this may fail. You know, we don't know whether this will be a success or not. But the other thing is if there is a little bit of money out there, we're not going to get in too big, but we can maximize our income by adjusting some of these take profits. So normally I just have I come in with just a straight bracket trade. See, look at that. It formed another tail. Now it's getting a little it's getting beat up a little bit here. Now, if this, I'm going to take some reverse positions here. So here I'm going to hedge because I'm so close to that support that I want to build into some shorts, a lot of shorts, if it breaks this. So I'm building into some shorts. I want a bigger position of shorts than I want longs here, because that tail is kind of the buyers are kind of non-existent, right? The market just pushed right through that, and well, now it's forming another tail. So anyway, I'm just reacting to whatever price action, whatever new price action we see on the charts here. Okay, I'm going to start building a little bigger position here. A short now. So now I'm gonna peel off some of these longs, take some loss on that, and hopefully leave just the shorts on. So we took a little bit of loss on that, and now we're in short positions. Now we need a breakdown. This is always the trickiest part of the chart, because you never know if that support's going to hold or whether it's going to break down. Now, the reason I went a little heavier on the short side is because of all of the short bias on the 5 and 10 and the 5-minute charts. And so I'm going a little heavier on the short side simply to see if I can make some money. See if I can build a little bit of take advantage of the bias that's on that 5-minute chart, and see if this thing can break the support level down here. Now it's starting to rally up again. We've still got a little bit of a downtrend right here. We've got a little bit of a downtrend, but if it breaks that downtrend, then the worry is that we're going to build back up. So, and we can get, this is the point in our trading where we can get upside down both directions and lose a lot of money. So you got to be careful how you manage your positions at this, and understand that I'm going in early without a lot of confirmation from the market. When you go in early like this, you'll tend to have more whipsaws in your trading account. You'll tend to take a few bigger losses if you're not right, because you're constantly adjusting your positions out there. So, all right, pushing down just a little bit. I'm hoping that it builds a little bit of momentum to that to the downside here. And a rally. Very, very, very strong support level, right? It's just not wanting to, it just doesn't want to give up this support level right here. which is understandable because there's not much underneath it to support it. And so any longs are out there trying to protect their positions right now. So all right, bumping up against that trend right now. And we're watching how that bar forms right in here. It's kind of getting sandwiched in between the trend and the support. It's getting sandwiched right in between there. So we will likely see a break. Whether that's to the upside or the downside, I'm not sure. My feeling is to the upside. There it goes. All right, now we're going to start building some shorts in here. So we've got one layer of shorts on the books down here, and we're going to build another layer, and we're going to build another layer. So we're just going to build short layers and try and manage off as much of this trade as we can. We're going to just manage off as much of this trade as we can as it starts to move away from us. So really strong, two real strong bars on the upside, and we're up at what we hope to be a little bit of a resistance here. And as long as this bar is holding on the upper ranges of that, it's saying that there's still money behind it. So see how this is holding up at the upper ranges? So if it holds up at the upper ranges in here and it doesn't retrace like it kind of is right now, what that means is that there's a lot of money in the market, and so we should be looking for ways to get out of that trade. But let's see what we can. I still think that bearish momentum or that bearish bias is in the market. So I'm going to kind of, that was a big knuckle move. So I'm gonna hold on to these shorts just because I think that all that bearish bias, all that bearish momentum is still out there. It's just hiding right now, simply because we've got two strong bars coming out of a support level. Here we go again. Now we're just going to book little bits of profit into that account, little bits here and there. And we got to be careful of that. The last thing we want is a breakout of these highs over here on the 5-minute chart. So we got to be really careful about that. And it may want to do that. It may want to try and break out of those highs. Let's see. Let's see what we have here. If this is starting to get a little whippy on both sides of the chart now. So it's starting to get a little whippy on both sides, on the high side and the low side. So that's a sign that it's still not sure it wants to move higher. It's still not sure it wants to move lower. We're gonna watch and see how this kind of have to watch and see how this price forms. I'd like to see a little bit more whippy action, but it's holding up in those upper ranges, and that's makes me a little bit nervous in these trades. Okay, so now what I typically do when I get volatility increases like we have seen right in here is as the volatility moves out of the market, I'll kind of adjust some of these. There we go, that's good. We're gonna build hopefully build a little bit of profit. I'd love to see a reversal right here. Our reversal point is right at this level. It's gonna be hard to see. So we gotta drop below that red bar, or that red line. If we can break below that red line, we should be in good shape. So notice how it came down and hit that red line and is bouncing back up off of it. So that red line is really where the tides change back into our favor. So let's hope that it drops below that red line there. And we're going to adjust some of these take profits to try and maximize. So what I'm doing is adjusting these take profits to a point where I hope, uh-oh, now we've got trouble. This is what our software's been doing all day long. There we go, we're back up. Okay, good. Now we drop down below that red line. Hopefully coming in to hopefully get some follow through. And let's watch and see where this bar takes us. Okay, so a rally back up. Now, the thing we're still not out of the woods on that. The fact that it broke below that bottom red line is good, but we've got to be careful now that it doesn't break above this new red line. If so, I'm not too worried still about this trade. We're working a position. This is that wobble technique where we've got a primary direction, we've got a primary position, and we're just building all the way around it. Up and down and up and down. We're just building, building, building on top of this position. And all the while making sure that things don't get too far out of hand. This is holding at the upper end of this range. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hedge off a little bit of our position with a long, because there's a good chance that it could rally up now and test these highs one more time. So I'm going to build a little bit of a hedge, a very small hedge, to the upside here. So now I've got several short positions. And now I've got a couple of long positions on the books. And these long positions aren't the main positions. These are just part of that wobble technique where I'm hedging off a little bit of the risk, because now the charts are looking like it should have another up leg to it. So here's the up leg coming in, starting to come in. So you can see that up leg starting to form. Not quite enough to give us a profit on those longs, but a little bit. And pulling back one more time. So it came all the way up and hit that red line. Again, I don't know if you can see this on your side because we're pictures of pictures here. But it came all the way up and hit that red line up at the top, and has bounced off of that. So it never finished its up leg. So let's see if it finishes it here. And another thing I'm going to do is now build in, because we're high enough up that is going to start build back onto the short. So now I've got a few longs and a few shorts. And this is just a real unsure, market right now. Doesn't really know if it wants to go down or up. So starting to drop a little bit here. Let's see if it breaks this zone here. If it does, we need to get out of these longs. And then let's look for a more sustained down leg here. So we're going to look for that market to retrace a little bit more if it drops. So I just took off the longs for a small loss on that. And now we're going to look for it to drop. And we're going to adjust our profit targets here to make the most of a drop. When you're hedging like that, it comes at a cost. So anytime you put a hedge on and it doesn't work out, there's a little bit of cost in the trade to you. And so what you have to do is you have to compensate. If you're going to have that trade, all of this is part of one setup. We're trading around one position. But if you're going to have that position end up profitably, and you use hedges in the process, those come at a cost. And so what you have to do is you have to make sure that you recoup those costs on your overall trade. Otherwise, you'll end up just trading your way into a loss, and just trading, and all you do is end up with a loss at the end of the day. And that's not what you want. So again, just be real careful about how you manage these trades in between, and you'll watch. We'll end up with hopefully a fairly decent return given all of this work, Drop down here, looking for another push lower. And the one that my target right now is these lows over here. So you've got a low here and a low here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and position all my take profits just above those lows. And my hope is that we get all the way down to those lows. So there's a few trades here, a couple of profit targets that are just a little bit out of line. So we're going to raise those up so that there's a high probability of hitting that if the market continues its down leg. So we're just going to adjust those just to try and get at the optimal point on the chart if this market continues its down leg. Another thing we can do is, if we're really confident, or if we're confident that the market's going to continue down and test those lows one more time, then we can obviously move some of these down. And make a little bit bigger profit in the process. Okay, so it's forming that another down bar. Hopefully you can see that. It's a little hard with all this. So we're looking for another push lower. And there's a small possibility that that could find support right here. This is a potential layer of support. So we got to be careful about whether it finds support at this level or if it has another leg lower. So this is I always look for lines, what I call lines of decision, where, you know, it may not be the right time to buy or sell at this line, whatever line it is that I'm looking at. But it's a time where I need to be careful and be observant and watch how price is forming at those lines. And we're definitely at a line of decision because of the lows right here and the highs right here. So you've got a series of lows and then a series of highs right here. And so we're right at that same level right here. And this is one of those points where you might expect some buying to come back in. Now, if you get a full-fledged reversal at this point, then you don't want to hold on to all of these longs. So what I'm going to do, because we want to be able to get back in and add more positions if it rallies up. So I'm just going to lighten up some of these. There we go. That's a good move for us. So just lighten up some of them. That way, if that market does turn and move higher, you're going to take some of those profits and reinvest them again back up in here, if that makes sense. So we did have a push lower, but it's formed a wick and the body has come all the way back up to where that line was that we identified on the chart. So let's see if we get some follow through. It's really slow. This is just so slow today. All right, we're gonna close out. Again, we're gonna close out of some of these layers. We just want to be able to get back in if we have another leg higher. So let's close out of some of these. Now, as that market rallies back up, right now is not a good time to enter into shorts, but if it has another leg higher, forms another leg higher, like that, then on that leg, then I'll start adding another position. So what I want to do is I want to get enough movement between where I enter into shorts and the bottom of that line. So I want to make sure that there's at least 2 pips of profit in between there before I add another layer. That's important because this is already proven to be a support. And so now I need to make any profit made on positions up in here needs to be collected before it hits the support level, if that makes sense. So I won't be putting any short positions on here because there's not enough money before we hit. There's not enough money in between where we enter this and the support lining. There's not enough money to be made in between that. But if it gets up into these old highs up here, then there will be enough money, and we'll take advantage of that. All right, a potential turning point here. Turning point to the low side, to the downside. And it's just so slow. Sorry, guys. Can't do anything about this. This is so much easier when there's volatility. Makes it so much more difficult when there's no volatility. All right, a 2-bar pullback. And let's see if there's a 3rd bar here. Nope. Okay, so we're coming back into this initial line. And we'll be entering short positions up in that circle if it rallies up in there. If it rallies too hard, I'll wait. But if it's just a slow build, we'll start to build short positions up in that circle up above the red line there. Just really slow. Doesn't really want to move too much one way or another. Everything hinges on a move, on a break of that, on a break of this support line right here. Everything we've done today hinges on that move. If we get that move, we'll be in great shape. We'll make some profit on the day. If not, then we'll continue to work and work and work and not make much money. Just gonna adjust those a little bit. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I've got a whole set of trades down here, and I haven't done anything with them. So I've got all these trades down here, and their profit targets clear down there. So there's a chance that it could get down to those lows. There's a chance that could happen, but it's going to be a hard battle, right? So something phenomenal is going to have to come into the market, or a lot of time is going to have to transpire to get all the way down there. So a couple of things that I can do is if we get down into if we hit these profit targets, then I can peel off the majority of these trades at break even, or with slight losses. Or I can see and wait for it to see if it tests these lows, and then I could peel them off down here. So there's a couple of things, but for me, most of those trades are just I'm not looking to make money on those trades. Now obviously that's kind of requires a little different way of thinking, because what I'm basically saying is that I'm okay losing money on all of those. But if I get the move that I want and this breaks down, I'm going to have enough money. I'll make money on the trade and enough money to compensate for anything that I have, any losses there. So oftentimes what you'll see me do is just book some of these losses, maybe half of them, and then see what it does, whether it comes down all the way and tests the lows. I just kind of follow what price action is telling me at that level. So that's kind of I don't know what it's going to do, but that's kind of my game plan. That is kind of my game plan, how I'm going to manage this if it gets that drop, or when it gets that drop. Gotta speak positive, right? All right, it is sitting on that support level, and again, just each successive candle keeps getting smaller and smaller. I feel like we're just getting into particle world here. A little bull candle here. Hopefully, try and zoom in a little bit. Can't see anything. Another really small candle, super small. But you can see it's starting to poke its nose out through the bottom here. It's starting to poke its nose down through the support line. But nobody's stepping onto that, right? It's poking its nose down, but nobody's like piling into the trade. And that's what we need to happen in order for it to break, is we need orders to pile on to that. And they're not doing it yet. That's not to say they won't. Just, you know, it's the fact that they're not is part of the information that I'm processing to make decisions. You know, it's kind of, you look at everything in your environment and you collect all the data and you make a decision from that. What am I going to do? Obviously, our decision's made. I already have my game plan. But one thing I could do is, if it doesn't build momentum to the downside, I could start peeling off some of these profits, and again, adding on to them if we get a rally. So a little bit more, and so slow. I guess maybe for you out there, the slowness is probably good, because it kind of, you can see it develop. If this was all one big volatility, I'd be moving and shaking and everything would be like going gangbusters. But at least this way we've got, you know, good 180 seconds between every decision we make. All right, so close. There we go. That's a good move right there. So now you see it's starting to peel off some of our profits targets there. And we're back up into nice profit on the day after a long, complicated trading session. So again, you see how that one move down to those profit levels right there was enough to get us into some profit on the day. That's what I was saying. Now I've got this last layer that I need to deal with. Do I want to peel it off? Do I want to hold on to it? Do I want to see what this market can do? Those are all questions that the trader has to answer for themselves, right? How are you going to manage this now that you've got the move that you want? Because you don't want to give, the last thing you want to do is, now that you're in a profit, you don't want to give it all back up if the market reverses and moves higher. So whatever we do, that's our objective, is not to give up all of the profit that we made as if the market turns and moves higher. So we can take it candle by candle here. We can peel off a couple of these, you know, just lighten up our position a little bit. Lighten up, lighten up, lighten up. And if that market continues to move lower, which it's looking like it might do here, still looking like it's on that very slow downward path. Ah, there's a reversal, right? So now we're going to have some buyers. Now we're going to have to turn the trading chart over to the buyers, right? The sellers had the chart a minute ago. Now the chart's going to be handed over to the buyers. So let's see what they can do with this. Sellers were kind of weak. They were kind of wimpy, right? They made a move, but they were kind of wimpy in their move. So let's see what the buyers do. So now the buyers have control of the chart. Ooh, there it goes. There comes some. The sellers heard me talk about them. Did you see that? Did you see that? sellers heard me say they're weak. They didn't like that. He pushed that right back down on us, right? They're like, buyers, no. It's not for you. This is our market. All right, let's see if we get another lower low. Another lower low would be really great about now. There we go. That's perfect. Now, one thing we've got to look at is we've got previous support right about there. So there is going to be some support come into this market at some point. And so we need to recognize that that's going to happen, or that could happen. It's not to say that it will. But right at that red line, we expect to see some support come in. So right now, I'm basically, if you look over here at neutral pips, I'm about break even on all of these trades. That's a fantastic place to be. That's a really great place to be, is at break even, because we've already made our profit, remember? We're already profitable on the trade. This is just gravy if we can get out of these without any losses. All right, I think that about does it. So I can't remember what we started the day off. Can't remember what we started the session off at. Can somebody remember? I know we were about 30% profit. I think our daily return was about 30%. But I think we were at about 4,006 or 4,007. Can anybody remember? Anyway, we made money in the session, and it was a rough session, to be honest with you. Okay, let's just recap. You know what? And by the way, I'm just going to keep trading this. You know, we're at about 5,000 in profit for the hurricane relief effort. So that's pretty good. It's not the best session, not the best trading session, but you look at what we had to deal with. It was a lot of uncertainty right in the beginning, a whole lot of uncertainty. I venture to say if we took a vote of what the market was going to do in that circle, not that circle, but this circle, when we first started trading, a lot of it, we would have been split. You know, the entire universe of traders would have been split. Some would have been saying, oh, it's going to go long. Some would have been saying it was going to go short. So we had a lot of uncertainty when we very first entered into the market this morning. With that uncertainty, we used some of the bias on the 5-minute chart to say, okay, I think overall that bias is going to win out in the trade. With all of that bias, we were looking at a level right there. This level, look at now, it's going to break those lows. Very nice. So we were looking at this level as kind of the turning point. If the market builds strength and pops up through this, then then we have to do something different. But we still had our position. Nothing broke from that position. Throughout the entire trading session, we did have to hedge because of some trade setups that looked like it could build some momentum to the upside. So we used a couple of hedges. That cost us a little bit in the trade, but that's okay because that hedge would have protected us had it fully had the market fully gone momentum and broken through that. Those hedges would have protected us, but they came at a little bit of a cost. But that's okay because ultimately we hit the level where everything was good in the trade. So a little rough. a little bit of anxiety in a trading session like that. But that's what we do as traders. Is we really kind of, it's not all fun and games. It's not all the euphoria moment. Sometimes it's a little bit of work. I often think of it like I grew up in the mine areas, and I often say it's like working in a mine. You gotta get in there and chip away at the hard things in order to make some money sometimes. But we did okay in the end, and that's what at the end of the trading session, we need to be able to say we fought a good fight and we did all right, and we're pleased with our results. So please join me in helping. Our target's to raise 10,000. If I have to do that on my own, I'll keep trading until I hit that mark. But I'd love to have you guys join in. I think there's some good that comes. So check out that GoFundMe page if you can find $10, $50, $1,000, whatever it is. If you could find a little bit in your heart to go and support our efforts to help provide some relief in Florida, I think that'll be good. I think I'll wrap up for the day. Thanks, traders, and hopefully this has been a good learning experience for you. Definitely a tough market. I like to see a little bit more volatility, but we deal with the hand that we're given, right? We play the hand we're given. So thanks, traders. We'll see you. Happy trading. For those of you at Apiary Fund, trading room in the morning, I'm going to be trading this account again. So I'm going to take every opportunity I can to trade, and so I'll be trading the Trader on the Street account in our trading room at Apiary in the morning. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you then. Bye.